Hello, everyone. And today we have an interesting conversation scheduled. We have a professional and who is exploring the future course of action depending upon his own experience as well as the educational thing which he want to add to. Now, before I keep talking about it, why don't you give a brief introduction about your background and then we get started with your questions.
Definitely, Sanket. Myself, working from past 9 years in IT industry. Initially, I started as a developer. Then I moved into like a techno-functional kind of role where I was
Mm-hmm.
handling the technical things and uh, understanding and taking the requirements from the various stakeholders and putting into the user mapping, those kind of
Mm-hmm.
areas.
Mm-hmm.
Now, last one and a half year back, I moved to US. I'm working as a business system analyst.
Okay.
So right now, I'm in a confusion from last 9 years where I need to take my career in next next decade from
Okay.
2020 to 2030. So
Okay.
which area we need to focus on, where we
Mm-hmm.
need to stand out. So these are the questions I have here. So my first question is which one we need to do as a part of role, like a Scrum
Mm-hmm.
Master or more of Agile or more of business system analyst, like a traditional way, which
Perfect.
is
Perfect.
lightly having the technical instance in that
Mm-hmm.
BSA. So which
Mm-hmm.
one we need to carry out? So since you have interacted with many things and you know entire world, how the market and which and the coming decade which will have a more weightage, uh, I
Sure.
respect your
Sure.
inputs.
So thank you. Thank you for giving a brief. So what I'm understanding, I'm just repeating so that we both are in the same space, that you have been working for 9 years and initially you were into pure technological space where you were doing the coding, but gradually you moved into system analysis, or I would say that it was having some part of requirement, but your way of doing system analysis or business analysis was too much linked with how it should appear in the code. Yeah. So that's
Mm,
assumption I am making. So you were
exactly,
converting the business requirement into more system requirement. That's what you were doing. Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. Okay. And while doing this thing, like what kind of a domain you worked in, what kind of a business side of skills you developed, and what started exciting you.
I started from the starting of my career. I started in BFSI industry, banking and
Mm-hmm.
financial risk and compliance, retail banking, core banking, business solutions. These
Mm-hmm.
are the three areas I have worked in banking. So
Mm-hmm.
after that, now I have the like passionate of working in the banking projects.
Mm-hmm.
But again, they will ask me either domain specific, like either payment or investment banking or any retail banking or a lending, like
Mm-hmm.
domain specific. If I want to become a BA
Mm-hmm.
again, if I so I'm planning to move into the Scrum Master role. So my question is like how the market could react to since I am on a H1B in US, whether it comes to specialized skill set or how the market could react to this role, Scrum Master or Agile practitioner or
Mm-hmm.
a safe Agilist like that.
Sure. Sure. In this particular space, as the things are moving, the more and more requirement will come towards where people can deliver something rather than they just can manage and guide. So
Mm-hmm,
especially when you are looking for mid-level profiles, the
mm-hmm,
something which is focused on contribution
mm-hmm,
will remain focused. Yeah, that is something
mm-hmm,
in general, the theme I can see, because see, as the businesses goes into little stressful environment, they would like
mm-hmm,
to have something gets done. Yeah. So
mm-hmm,
rather than just having generic conversation around what should be we should what should and how should we do it, even if
mm-hmm,
it's a scrum master or a leading role, it will be
mm-hmm,
more driving the whole team so that they can come together and deliver things. So that's going to be a probable trend, because
mm-hmm.
now the organization are going through a little challenging environment. Now, what I feel, since you have a domain exposure, I would not say that you have an expertise in it. That's what I'm hearing, because you are saying
Mm-hmm.
that you like BFSI, but you don't have that much detail into a particular domain of it. And that's why you are
Exactly.
looking for something which is generic as well as linked with the domain.
Right. Right.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. So the Scrum Master kind of profile. Let's see, there are two things. One is a Scrum Master role as defined in Scrum. The another thing is that Scrum Master role as perceived in the organizations. So the title Scrum Master usually involves that, okay, you should be working in an organization where you help teams to lead through their development deliveries. You lead in a different style, but you may do some additional stuff along with your Scrum Master role as well. And many times those additional stuff are technical oriented. Sometimes those additional stuffs are requirement oriented. So I think you have some kind of exposure in both. Then you can probably think of creating your future profile, which is towards team leadership, but also has some hands-on into the domain or area you are working in. So if I specifically say, it could be like you are doing financial domain related work, and you might operate as a Scrum Master or a team lead in those domains. I believe that could be a good place to target to.
Yes, definitely, Sanket. So how about the product owner role? Since we are more into Agile nowadays from traditional waterfall methodology. So how the product owner role will play, like it is as similar as BA in Agile, if I'm understood correctly.
Yeah. So one thing is that the way product owner role is defined in Scrum Guide. The another is that way product owner role is usually operated in organizations. Yeah. So these two things are not necessarily always in alignment. What I see, the organization looking at a product owner role, they in many organizations, it is more or less like business analyst. It is where the business analyst or a person who talks to the external stakeholders, compiles the information, put everything in place, prioritize it, and then he becomes the source of information to the development team. That's the one way of looking. As the individual skills starts improving and he gets more and more depth about the area, he may start taking more and more role in handling the product. And many times that kind of role in some organization is called product management, or in some organization it may still be called product owner, but the person will do a wider area role, like he will really get involved in understanding what should be the requirement, and also ending to the interacting with the customer. So that's a possible area you can operate in. I do see you have an advantage of doing some level of system analysis before. You have some hold of information related to the domain areas. You may start with as a business analyst kind of a product owner, and if you end up developing skills in that particular space, then you can move towards product management kind of a product owner. That's also a possible path. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. So we have at us two areas here. One is Scrum Master, one is product owner, and we have spoke about my professional background.
Yeah.
So to summarize this, which one will give a more value, and how I can proceed further in my career?
So what my understanding is, you may need to see that what kind of a skills and a typical day of both the roles, and which one you feel naturally comfortable doing. So if I see the role of a Scrum Master or a team leadership role, it is more about facilitating people to talk, making them discuss the issues openly, helping them to come up to the decisions, and making sure that whatever they are doing, everybody's aware of it, making them see the reality. And overall, if they get stuck somewhere, if they want some help from an external party, you go to there and get it resolved. So that's the kind of job you do when you are in a
facilitator, more of a facilitation.
Yes, leadership, conflict management, coaching people, working with external organization, so that you may have a PMO, you may have a infrastructure team, you may have a customer also sometime who's expected to provide inputs, and customers are not providing it, or product owner is unable to get it. So you resolve all the messy things which might be blocking team to move forward. So that's the whole part of Scrum Master or a team leadership kind of a profile. The product ownership kind of a profile is more on, I would say, it is more research oriented. It is more on excellence oriented. It is less on handling day-to-day conflicts and resolving issues, and working with external people to get things removed from a team path. That part
Mm-hmm.
is not there. Here it's more idea about talking to people to understand what they really need. And maybe you are doing something like persona mappings, and you might be creating empathy
User
maps
stories.
and UI. You might be creating user stories. You are looking
Stories.
into a user journeys. And then
Yeah.
in the reality, there is a possibility that different stakeholder has a different understanding of the same requirement. So you are
Mm-hmm.
working and facilitating conversation amongst the stakeholders to make them agree to something, so that
Mm-hmm.
you find out. You may have a mechanism to reflect the prioritization, or the value of each item. Sometimes you might not be able to do prioritization on your own, because there will be other stakeholders who will decide what should be
Mm-hmm.
done. It might not be
Mm-hmm.
true as far as a role of a Scrum product owner, but it might be a reality. But still, you may play a role where you have some quantification of what value one particular item will give. So I would say it's a deep understanding of the area, field, domain where you work in, continuously working and knowing what competitors are doing, continuously knowing and analyzing what your product is doing, and continuously knowing and analyzing what customer and user and stakeholder needs might be in future. So that's
Mm-hmm.
a pretty different profile than team leadership or a scrum master kind of a one. Yeah,
Got
so
it.
this is something. So
So,
let's
so,
figure it out
so
which
for
one
pro-
attracts you. Yeah.
so for product owner, again, we need a product knowledge, or we can switch into that role and get a knowledge on the after onboarding during
Yeah.
the project.
So actually, it is very tricky, because it also depends upon what kind of organization is picking you. So there are
Mm-hmm.
organizations who focus on, does this person has an attitude to discover and explore needs and requirements. So
Okay.
they focus on that part. That is where the system analyst and business analyst may fit into any domain area, where they have
Mm-hmm.
a way to ask questions, way to observe information, and convert into a need statement. But some
Okay.
organization may also look for that, have you done it before in our area? Because they look for, can you speak our language? Because you may go to a customer and customer may say a word, and that word you won't understand till the time you understand that whole industry or a domain.
Concept.
Yeah. So
Right.
in order to improve your observation, in order to improve your understanding of a customer need, you need to keep
Mm-hmm.
working on knowing the particular domain space, the particular industry
Yeah.
space. Now
Industry.
you can do along the after the onboarding, or you might be doing in your current job as well, where you get deeper into understanding the customer space. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, got it, second.
Yeah.
So you have addressed what is product owner role and Scrum Master role, and both the industry specifications, what they'll be looking for. So after the thing, some people like me will be willing to join on the basis of the openings. So if there are more openings on the Scrum Master, I'm ready to learn and go into that role. If there is more openings on product owner, I'm ready to learn that way and pitch into that. So which one has more demand in the right current industry?
Hmm. Hmm.
Sure.
That's an interesting thing, and it's a prediction. It may keep changing.
Because
Uh,
end of the day, people will be looking for a job and a good salary, like a decent salary and secure job. This is the
sure, sure,
ultimate goal.
sure.
So everyone will be looking out which is the hot cake here, whether it's a product owner or a scrum master. Like both is not so challenging as technical, like learning any programming language here. It will be coming by the skills. So which is a hot cake here,
Yeah, sure,
if you
sure.
compare both?
So what I feel personally, I feel is the
Mm-hmm.
Scrum Master kind of a profile will be many. So the idea here
Okay.
is, when you do a Scrum Master job, the number
Mm-hmm.
of openings will be more, and
Okay.
one person can go anywhere, because there is no specialized restriction. You might be doing Scrum Master
Right.
in a one domain, and
Right.
again, there are some organizations who do expect some domain understanding from the Scrum Masters also. But in
Mm-hmm.
general, the rigor of expecting the industry knowledge to Scrum Master is less when it comes to the product owner or product management space. There it is high. Now, having said that, the people who want to do Scrum Master job is also many. So people who have been doing coordination, who have been doing leadership, team level leadership, or who have been doing some sort of project management, project coordination work, many of them target to be a Scrum Master because the Scrum Master is a natural progression of, oh, I have been working alone, or I started working with 2-3 people. Now I can facilitate 6-7 people and I can lead the thing. So the entry in a Scrum Master role is also frequent, like people keep entering into it. So what I say is it might be easy start, but it might be a long, in a long run, you need to keep bringing something differentiated because there will be a lot of people joining in that particular game. Yeah. Whereas in my view, product ownership, product management could be a little difficult to get started with because it is something, it may have a barrier of domain and experience before you get in. But once you get in, then it has a little more rewarding space because because you are always near to customer. So whichever job is more near to user and customer, they are more needed. Yeah, so you can easily replace the Scrum Master relatively, but it is difficult to replace the product owner or a product management guy because he has been talking to all the users and all those people, and now he has a lot of information in his head. Now, if you remove him, he takes that information along with him. Whereas if I have to remove the Scrum Master and if I get a decently good Scrum Master, it's a little switchover, but not that big switchover if I compare to the product and thing. So what I feel is you may want to reflect on which one you enjoy doing and where you want to take a risk. And
so how about openings in the current market situation, if you consider in that way?
Yeah, so as I said, the number of opening in general, the Scrum Master opening and traction will be higher because it's a movement job. Whereas
it has upper end.
And it is a product owner and product management will be relatively less, but at the same time the supply is also relatively less. So one of the possible thing is that you may put your keywords like the way you have a background and the type of location you are looking for a job, and there you start doing a job search, assuming, okay, I have this skill, say experienced in finance and looking for product owner. So if you put those kind of a search, what kind of a result it produce? Or you may put a experience in finance and looking for a Scrum Master job. Then what kind of jobs it produce? So there is a possibility of exploring because each area might have a different need. And the another thing is that as the world is becoming more and more remote, so a lot of coordination and working together work is moving towards tools, rather than you bring people together and then they talk and then you do. Many of these things will be, you have a product lifecycle management tool and all, so a lot of things are going there. With that trend, in some people are also predicting that there might be a little less demand of Scrum Master kind of activities because a lot of things are happening on their own, because people are doing their work and you don't have to pull them together and all. So again, this all is projection. We don't know how it will turn out.
Okay, that's very clear. Thank you, Sanjay, for the answers. So I have a last question here. Do I need to touch any safe Agile Coordinator or safe Agilist certifications?
So now what I feel when I spoke about the Scrum Master product owner role, now if you just say, okay, I'm confused and I'm still not clear where I want to go, then you can pick up what are the things which might be needed in both. So there will be few skills which are needed in Scrum Master and product owner commonly. And probably you may work on those areas first, and then you keep your mind open that, okay, let me figure it out where I see the first click or where I see the interview calls, and based on that I will decide where I want to go. So that's a possibility. And if you look at that possibility, good understanding of way of working, Scrum way of working, safe way of working is a good starting point. So when I understand how Scrum works, the way we spoke about Scrum Master and product owner role, whenever I am going for whichever role, at least process part is clear to me. I
Got it.
can talk about the challenges and other stuff, but process part is pretty much clear to me. So that is something you can do for Scrum. Now, when it comes to scaled agile, again, the more it is the organization which is looking at your profile, if they are working in a large complex environment, and since you spoke about banking and financial domain, I presume they are relatively large complex projects or an initiative where you involve minimum 50 to 100 people, even if it's a small change, but there are multiple teams. The work moves through multiple teams, and ultimately it gets done. Even it's a small change in a credit card or anywhere, but it passes through multiple places.
Stakeholders.
And sometimes those different technical teams as well. So they have a one section
has to collaborate.
Has to collaborate. So in those environments, there is a high probability you will see that they are using scaled agile framework as their operating system. So most of the major financial institution, you can go to scaledagile.com and see the case studies. They are using the good amount of financial organizations are using SAFe as their ways of working. So it's a good idea to know SAFe well. And again, it is just a process part of it. You need to add your skill and delivery on top of it when you meet interviews and other things. But I believe it's a good step to get ready with the deep Scrum understanding and understanding of Scale Agile framework. Yeah. And it will help you in both the spaces. Yeah.
So prior to this, what you explained to know the process of thought, that is the Agile Coordinator, right? That is what you have said.
So the idea here is that whatever you work, so for example, you do Scrum certification, you learn certified Scrum Master. So you come to know how the Scrum works, how the Scrum operates. Yeah.
Right.
And even after doing certified Scrum Master, later on you may decide to go in a product owner role, not necessarily a Scrum Master role. Similarly, for example, you end up doing leading SAFe program, which is a 2 days program from a scaled agile. You understand what is SAFe, but when you join the organization, you may become a Scrum Master in the SAFe organization, SAFe framework using organization, or you may become a product owner in SAFe framework using organization, because you have done a generic knowledge. You have not done a specialized that I want to do a particular role here.
Exactly.
So that's something you may be ready with your generic understanding by doing certified Scrum Master and leading SAFe, which is also called SAFe Agilist program in detail. In first,
And it is also Agile practitioner, right?
What do you mean by Agile practitioner?
Okay. I saw somewhere there is a role called Agile practitioner. Kind of
possibly. So, there could be a somewhere role Agile practitioner, there could be a somewhere role iteration manager, somewhere Agile project manager. It is depending upon organization. So they may give a title, but these frameworks has their own roles, which is expected to operate inside the framework. But these kind of titles may keep emerging. So maybe the idea of Agile practitioner is somebody has a fair understanding of Agile and then may need to do something on top of it. Yeah.
Got it. Really thankful to you for the deep understanding, providing the insights and the way where we need to go.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for the time.
And take some time to map your skills and interest, because it's not straightforward journey. And if your interest will match, you will put more effort and you will find long-term success.
Exactly. It has become like a knot. You have taken out that knot very easily. Right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Nice talking to you. Yeah.
Same here. Thank you.
Bye.